rock sliders. Got to apologize about the wind, but it's the conditions I got. Today I'm using that resolving power chart that you just saw at the intro. That's a 1951 U.S. Air Force resolving power chart. You use those to compare optics and their ability to resolve fine detail. And I'm testing the new Vortex Kaibab 18 by 56 HD binocular. They replaced their 15 and their 20 power with this new 18. If you look on our YouTube channel, I've already tested it on wildlife a couple of weeks ago. It did just fine on some mule deer at a mile or so. Today I'm testing it for its ability to resolve fine detail, and obviously you have to have something to compare it against. And I'm testing it against the Swarovski 15 by 56 SLC. I'm a long-time user of that optic. I consider it the very best in its class, so I'm putting the Vortex up against it. On the wildlife, the mule deer that I did a couple of weeks ago, the Vortex did just fine. It was within just a few percentage points of the SLC. With the resolving power, I just did this a couple of minutes ago, and although the binoculars are side by side, because the Vortex is 3 more power, basically 20% more power than the Swarovski at 15, this is very unscientific, but I just went ahead and moved it back 20% to account for the difference. Because a higher powered optic can resolve better at the same distance as a lower powered optic. So it doesn't tell you much. It's basically the power can make up for the difference in its ability to resolve. So by moving it back, and I've tested this on multiple optics before, it does account for some of that difference, even if it's not a completely scientific way to do it. Okay, so you don't need to send me a nasty email, you optical engineers. But it gave me a good idea of how the two resolve. And so this is what I found. On a resolving power chart, you've got a group of small lines together, and within that group they're broke down into elements. Okay, so the Swarovski SLC was able to resolve the group -1 and element 3. Jumping to the Vortex Kaibab, it was able to resolve the same group, -1, but 1 less element. It was only able to go to 2. Alright, so 2 is higher than 3. That means it's a slightly bigger element. So the Kaibab couldn't resolve the detail of the Swarovski, but that's very close. Only 1 element different. That's very close. I have a burnt tree out here that's at approximately a mile, and go ahead and turn in both optics at that tree out there and picking a dead branch on it. The Swarovski and against the Kaibab, I couldn't hardly tell the difference at that distance out there. So once you get into, you know, the real world, glassing on the mountain, I don't think you're going to see a big difference in the resolving power. The Swarovski is slightly clearer. You can just see it as you're looking through it. But again, it's not a big difference. And so this is how I would rate that Vortex Kaibab against the Swarovski. If it still gets down to the axiom of buy the best you can afford. If the Swarovski doesn't break the bank for you, yeah, go for it, all right? But if you need to save money on optics, you're not losing very much in resolving power by going to the Kaibab. I don't think most people are even going to notice the difference on the mountain. Okay, where I am noticing a difference between the two optics that a person needs to consider is in eye relief. The Swarovski has got better eye relief, and in the world of tripod binoculars, the whole idea is not to touch the binocular. In fact, when I was doing the resolving test, I had to wait for the wind to die, because a shaking optic can't resolve as well as one that's steady. So, when you're looking at eye relief, if you're bumping your binocular, your eye relief is causing you problems. You're not going to be able to see as steady of an image. And the Vortex just is barely at the edge of not having to touch it. Every once in a while I bump it with my nose. I don't like that. It's not a big deal. Once you get used to it, you can do it. But just as far as putting the two side by side, that's Kaibab needs about another millimeter or two for me to rate it as near the SLC. All right. If I pull the rubber eye caps off, that gains you another millimeter or two. Your binocular looks ugly, but sure enough, then I can see the whole. There's no vignette at all. I can see the entire image. So it's not too bad, but you know, in being fair and in being honest, the Vortex is suffering just a little bit on eye relief. I still think if a guy uses them, gets used to it, and he's buying the best that he can afford, he'll still be happy with that Kaibab. But if eye relief is a big deal, or you're an eyeglass user, you've definitely got to get better eye relief than what that Kaibab's giving you. So that's my head-to-head between those two. I haven't done any twilight testing yet. Watch for that video in the future, and I'll get that out there. Thank you.